The legendary skeleton king Kim Yasok met his end after detonating his soul inside the divine temple. To the shock of the gods, his soul slipped through the seal and inhabited a newborn child. Two nannies assigned to the child were actually assassins trying to feed him holy poison. Instead of dying, the baby consumed 15 bottles and converted the toxin into raw mana. Isaac raised a tiny finger and demanded more, terrifying the hidden killers with his resilience. He soon realized he had been born into the Ashwa family, his most hated enemies. A powerful bishop arrived at the mansion, demanding an exorcism after sensing Isaac's dark mana. Isaac reached out and snatched a hidden demonic artifact right from the bishop's chest. The bishop's secret demon totem roared to life, materializing a colossal shadow lich in the room. Isaac channeled every ounce of his mana into a blinding column of white light. The lich was disintegrated instantly, leaving everyone to believe a miracle had occurred. However, Isaac was internally screaming because his body had converted his dark mana into holy power. He realized he must now play the role of the saint to survive in this den of fanatical warriors. The emperor himself appeared, intrigued by the child's platinum hair and divine potential. The bishop refused to back down, summoning a golden wolf spirit to attack the imperial party. Suddenly, a stream of icy blue energy tore through the air, subduing the beast instantly. Reli Ashua announced that no one would lay a hand on the direct descendant of his house. Isaac froze as the Ashua knights knelt before him, calling him their young master. To welcome him, the knights presented a toy model of the skeleton king being beheaded. Isaac was speechless, realizing these lunatics were celebrating his own past execution. He then remembered Melissa Ashua, the craziest saintess and his most formidable enemy. It dawned on him that he was now the direct descendant of the woman who nearly killed him. Isaac decided to use his acting skills to gain the emperor's favor and escape the mansion. Internally, he mocked the humans for being so easily swayed by a child's appearance. Elsewhere, a failed bishop reported to a mysterious cardinal that the child used demonic mana. The cardinal silenced the bishop forever with a single cold stroke of his blade. The Holy See began planning a strike against the imperial palace to eliminate the infant saint. Isaac shuddered in his crib, sensing the growing threat from his old subordinates. He realized he needed to reclaim his original skeletal body to regain his full power. Reli revealed that the Ashua family possessed the Skeleton King's original remains. Isaac immediately pointed at Reli, demanding to be taken to the Ashua Manor. Reli was moved to tears, believing his nephew had finally chosen him as a protector. During the journey, the carriage was suddenly blocked by a group of demons. A demon general roared that they were ordered by the Skeleton King to kill all saints. Isaac was outraged, as he had never given such an order to his subordinates. Reli unleashed blue lightning from his blade, obliterating the demon horde in an instant. Isaac used the chaos to summon a shadowy entity named Whisper to scout the area. A colossal shadow lich appeared, recognizing Isaac as its true master. To prevent being exposed, Isaac ordered the lich to stand down and vanish. The knights cheered, believing the child had neutralized a demon with holy authority. Isaac reached the Ashua Manor, a place of immense wealth and fanatical anti-demon training. He saw knights attacking Skeleton King dummies, screaming hatred for his former self. Isaac realized he needed to drain the mana from the mansion's core to fuel his escape. He encountered his uncle Gaul, a thuggish man who wanted to eliminate him from the succession. To prove his worth, Isaac revived a dead divine tree that had been withered for 70 years. The entire Ashua family was stunned as the symbol of their house roared back to life. Isaac smiled inwardly, knowing he had just used the demonic residue to jumpstart the tree's life. With his potential confirmed, the path to the Holy Vault and his old body was finally open. The path to the Holy Vault was finally clear after his potential as a saint candidate was begrudgingly acknowledged. Isaac realized that the upcoming Pentagon trials provided the perfect smokescreen to enter the restricted treasure zones. He watched with silent contempt as the other young candidates boasted of their holy heritage and lineage. To move freely, Isaac targeted Shuri Ashua, decided to turn the prideful boy into his unwitting pawn. The Pentagon trials began with a sudden roar as the heavy gates of the testing grounds ground open. Thousands of eyes were fixed on the candidates, but Isaac focused only on the mana signatures within the vault. The first trial, the Chamber of Selection, required candidates to navigate a maze of shifting walls and traps. Isaac used his small stature to crawl through gaps that the older candidates could never hope to fit through. A high-level ward blocked the path, designed to repel any soul harboring even a trace of demonic energy. He closed his eyes and manipulated his mana core, perfectly mimicking the resonance of a holy soul. Behind him, a group of candidates led by Kina Barrett struggled as they were pushed back by the holy pressure. Isaac reached the second trial, the Chamber of Silence, where any sound would trigger a barrage of arrows. He spotted Shuri trailing him and intentionally dropped a small, heavy rattle to trigger the trap. Shuri screamed as a wall of arrows erupted, forcing the boy to unleash a massive holy shield to survive. The commotion allowed Isaac to bypass the final security gate of the second chamber unnoticed. In the third chamber, he encountered a guardian spirit, a massive beast made of pure holy flame. The spirit sensed his true nature and lunged with a paw that could incinerate common demons. Isaac unleashed a burst of his suppressed Skeleton King aura, instantly cowing the holy beast into submission. The spirit bowed its head, recognizing a sovereignty that predated the current gods of the Empire. With the guardian subdued, Isaac finally reached the entrance to the holy artifact vault. He could feel it through the cold metal, the familiar resonance of his own ancient bones. The vault was not just a storage room, it was a graveyard for the enemies of the saints. He passed a pedestal displaying the crown of a demon king he had once considered a brother in arms. Finally, at the very end of the hall, he saw the ultimate prize resting behind a thick barrier of holy light. The clerics called it a holy relic, unaware it was the source of the very power they feared most. He knew that touching the remains directly in this infant body would trigger a massive explosion of energy. Instead, he began to draw the mana from the bone into his own core, drop by agonizing drop. His tiny body began to grow and shift as the god-level mana repaired the damage caused by reincarnation. Suddenly, the alarm bells of the vault rang out, echoing through the stone corridors like a death knell. The High Bishop and his exorcist squad were already descending the spiral stairs, their holy swords drawn. Isaac realized the Cardinal had been monitoring the mana levels within the remains all along. He quickly hid the skeletal remains inside a pocket dimension and reverted to his helpless infant disguise. "What is a child doing in the sacred vault?" the High Bishop demanded as he reached the altar. Isaac let out a piercing cry, pointing toward a side exit where he had planted a decoy demonic signature. The knights immediately gave chase, believing a demon had infiltrated the vault to steal the relic. With the guards gone, Isaac retrieved a small hidden gem he had charged with his stolen power. This gem would act as a seed, growing into a new skeletal body once he found a secure location. Suddenly, Kina Barrett appeared from the shadows, her eyes narrowed as she watched him. "I saw you, baby," she whispered, her voice carrying a weight of hidden knowledge. Far below the academy, a long-sealed tomb began to crack as Isaac's remains were moved from their sanctum. The true Skeleton King was coming back, and not even the Saint family could stop the coming tide. The true Skeleton King was coming back, and not even the Saint family could stop the coming tide. Isaac sat in his crib, watching the frantic elders scramble to find the source of the recent magical disturbances. He knew that the King-tier fire spirit summoned by the family was the perfect battery for his depleted mana reserves. The spirit roared in defiance, unleashing a wave of heat that threatened to melt the very stones of the manor. With a single glance, Isaac exerted his ancient dominance, forcing the primordial entity to its knees. The fire spirit shrank into a docile spark, settling into Isaac's palm as he absorbed its essence. News of the miraculous taming of the spirit spread through the Holy Empire, reaching the ears of the wary Pope. Cardinal Barrett viewed the child as a growing threat to his monopoly on divine power. Isaac recognized that the time had come to infiltrate the Sanctus prison and reclaim his most loyal general. He utilized the political chaos he had sown to walk through the prison gates undetected by the high-level guards. Deep within the abyss, the Bloodlord Shabnak sat bound in chains of pure holy sunlight. The demon general sensed a familiar presence and looked up with tears of black ichor. Isaac stood before the bars, his small form casting a shadow that looked like a king in full armor. A group of inquisitors suddenly ambushed him, their weapons glowing with anti-demon energy. Isaac didn't move, instead letting a burst of raw mana shatter their weapons into thousands of shards. He spoke a single word of power that froze the guards' hearts in their chests. With a snap of his fingers, the holy chains binding Shabnak dissolved into nothingness. The massive demon knelt before the infant, pressing his forehead to the cold stone floor. Isaac ordered his general to remain in the shadows, acting as his hidden sword within the Empire. The next day, Isaac appeared at the Grand Cathedral for his official recognition as the Empire's greatest prodigy. He played the role of the sleepy, innocent child perfectly, while the Pope delivered a long, boring speech. From his high vantage point, he noted the subtle fear in the eyes of the other saint candidates. He sent a tiny thread of dark mana to vibrate the chairs of those who had previously bullied his family. Every chess piece was finally moving according to the Skeleton King's grand design. Suddenly, the ground shook as a rival kingdom's assassin cult launched a desperate attack on the ceremony. While the Holy Knights panicked, Isaac remained perfectly still, his eyes tracking every movement. He didn't even use his hands, instead commanding the shadows of the pillars to rise and swallow the attackers. To the public, it appeared as though the cathedral's own defenses had miraculously activated to protect the saint. The Pope looked at Isaac with a newfound terrifying suspicion that the child was more than he seemed. Isaac met the Pope's gaze with a wide, toothless grin that sent a shiver down the old man's spine. With his general freed and his mana restored, it was time to prepare for the final confrontation with the heavens. He began secretly training the other candidates, turning them into a loyal vanguard under his hidden command. They believed they were learning holy arts, but Isaac was weaving threads of his own power into their very souls. The day of the final judgment arrived, where the gods themselves would descend to bless the new saint. A high angel descended, its many eyes looking down with the same arrogance that had led to Isaac's first death. Isaac stepped forward onto the center platform, his small footsteps echoing in the absolute silence. Instead of bowing, he released the full, unbridled power of the Skeleton King, turning the sky from gold to blood red. The angel shrieked in terror as the shadows of the entire city rose up to pull it from the sky. Isaac stood at the center of the destruction, the undisputed master of both the living and the dead. The world finally knew the truth. The king had returned, and this time he would never fall.